Welcome back to the Nutrimedical Report, and the host with the most is here with all your questions called into our orders line, which is 888-212-8871, and all your health and wellness questions. We also answer spiritual questions. We're on the local Christian radio station here in San Diego that broadcasts all the way to Los Angeles. Rebroadcast our first hour on Fridays on Sunday morning. And that call letters is?
KCBQ.
KCBQ. And Michelle, you got some announcements today. What's on the agenda?
Well, hello everybody. Great to be here. Time is flying by in the summer, already July the 18th. I have lots of emails today, Bill, lots of jokes, lots of everything, so I'm going to try to fit it all in.
Yeah, you got 4 segments. I guess we'll see what happens.
Well, we're going to start with Iona from Washington State. And she has blood behind her eye, and she's going for laser surgery because she has high blood pressure. I guess that was causing it.
Well, what happens is it's fragile capillaries.
Oh, okay.
So what you want to do with fragile capillaries is there are several things. The first thing to take is vein away, which stops spider nevi, deep vein thrombosis, and varicosities. It also repairs the Bruch's membrane and the capillaries behind the eye. Oftentimes the capillaries are fragile too if someone has prediabetes or diabetes, where elevated insulin levels stimulate what's called vascular endothelial growth factor to create new fragile capillaries.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You can also augment that by taking Collagen Max, which will strengthen the elastin and collagen in your vessels, and make sure you have adequate copper and zinc, which would be in the Minerals Plus.
Well, she wanted to know what you'd recommend because she's iffy on laser surgery.
The laser surgery may be necessary. You have to stop the bleeding. Once you stop the bleeding, usually they get in the non-fovea area, which is not in the center part of the vision. The problem is it doesn't fix the problem. See, the doctors will often laser it, but they keep lasering and lasering until eventually you get no vision.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is you want to, number one, identify that you probably have weak blood vessels. The high blood pressure is basically a nitric oxide problem. You generate nitric oxide with supernox and with the cardivite. And you also will clear the heavy metal toxins and free iron. You want to strengthen the capillaries and reduce inflammation in the blood vessel walls with things like Omega Supreme, Krill, Omega Supreme, and of course the Gamma E Plus, etc. All of our hypertension protocol. And it's very effective. You can actually get test strips like the Berkeley test strips from Germany that can measure your nitric oxide in your saliva, and it'll tell you if your nitric oxide is adequate. Easy to put the test strip on the back of your tongue.
Cool. Next is friend Rebecca from Oklahoma. We're hearing from Rebecca a lot lately, probably because she's thinking about the cruise and getting all healthy beforehand.
Everybody's trying to get healthy. Yeah.
Anyways, her question was, she's been taking for a few years, her and her husband, flaxseed oil and cottage cheese. And she said that she had heard some doctors say it was a preventative for cancer to take flaxseed oil and cottage cheese every day. Something about, what did she say here, the protein and water oxygen. Now, I don't know. And she wanted me to ask you that on the air.
Flaxseed oil is a natural anti-inflammatory, but there's more powerful ones. The most powerful of our omega fatty acids in terms of antioxidant power is the Omega Supreme Krill.
Yeah, you said it's an anti-inflammatory. Yeah. She was thinking she's taking it as
anti-cancer too.
Cancer.
Preventative for cancer, yeah. And the most powerful cancer preventatives we have are ellagic acid from the terminal and Shibuya plant, 300 times higher than the pomegranate, which is also anti-cancer. And, of course, malignoblock from sulforaphane glycosinolate from the broccoli seed. Yes. They both do DNA repair. And
that's what I take in my Ageless every day.
Exactly,
is the Malignoblock for preventative.
And the curcumin is also very powerful. The cell defense, I would say, in terms of power, the flaxseed oil is like 1/100th or 300th the power of, say, Omega Supreme Krill or Omega Cod Liver Liquid.
Now, what about cottage cheese? Now, you and I both like cottage cheese.
It's basically whey protein, and whey protein is very good for supporting glutathione peroxidase activity. And it's a good support.
What does that mean, glutathione?
It's the main enzyme that prevents inflammation in your body, free radicals, because that promotes cancer.
Yeah.
But the most important deficiency is not protein, it is selenium. So selenium cruciferate, cell detox glutathione, Nutricella, and Regenerex are very important. In terms of anti-cancer, we have a whole anti-cancer protocol that's posted up there for prevention. And the key ones are, as I say, myco D2, ellagic acid, and malignant block. Those are the three key ones.
Yeah, malignant block first.
And micelle D3. Of course, you want to have D3 levels in the adequate
But malignant
range.
block is the one I take. That's it.
Yeah, it's really
Malignant
important.
block.
Yeah.
That's my.
Yeah, and by the way,
Cancer
one capsule is
preventative.
equivalent to 5 pounds of the extract of 5 pounds of broccoli seed.
And if you're not a capsule person and you want to be like me, just
Ageless.
put it in. It's in your ageless chocolate or
Yeah.
vanilla, and then Life Support, of course, has all kinds of our products
Yeah.
in it. So I take a
Yeah.
lot of our products by drink because
But what I do is
like that.
I do with our daughter. I take about a tenth of a teaspoon of the powder I mixed up of all the different supplements, and I put it in the drink, which is glycemics, Life Support, Ageless Energize, Omega Cod Liver Liquid, and Nutriodine,
Yeah.
and I'll put ALC 1000 and D-ribose in there too sometimes.
The next
And
question.
I mix that and give that to her, like 3 ounces.
Yeah, you do.
With her powder, and she just drinks it in a matter of takes a shot and it's
If
done.
you're new to listening, he's talking about our daughter Kelsey, who has Down syndrome. She's now 21 years old as of March.
Very high
2014.
functioning, very social, probably more
Oh
socially
yeah,
listed
she's going
than
to the
I.
movies with Steve today. Steve will do anything to get away from answering the phone, so he's going to take
Yeah.
her to some Planet of the Apes or something.
She calls
Kelsey
them the
said
talking
monkeys. We're
talking
going to go see
monkeys.
that.
It's funny, yeah.
Bill, another cruiser, Kenneth from Georgia. Interestingly, it's funny, the first few people here are going on the cruise. If you're new to listening and you don't know about the cruise, go to Nutrimedical.com. We still have some openings. We'd love to see you on the cruise. It's right out of Los Angeles here, so if you live in
San Pedro.
California, yeah, it's very easy for you. You don't have to fly or anything. And you just sail out of there for a week over Thanksgiving week. And Bill, of course, and I will both be there. And Bill will have his QRMA and an arsenal of God knows how many other things you're going to have with you, Bill. You'll have
Well, I have 2 lectures.
the
I'm gonna
kitchen
give.
sink.
One I'm
you
going to
know.
give a lecture on wellness topics, and the other is going to be
Yeah,
dealing
not
with
too many lectures.
the spiritual.
Though.
No,
We're going
just-
to have question and answer kind of thing too.
well, it'll be a short lecture, but it'll basically
Yeah.
trying to give us some of the
short.
principles.
Did you hear that? Everybody's short.
Yeah, it won't be too long.
I'll be there monitoring. Anyways, Ken, I thought it's interesting when I'm talking to Ken about his mom, Bill. She's 93 years old. She lives up in Idaho,
Right.
And Ken's in Georgia, of course. So
Right.
he flies back and forth to see her, and she's still living in the same house they grew up in. Kids.
Well, that's good.
And it's just amazing. She's healthy, and of course, she takes her B12, right? Our B12.
Which, by the way, 65% of people aged over 60 are B12 deficient. And they don't show it even in their peripheral
Interesting.
blood, they show it in their central nervous system.
Uh-huh.
And until you do a Schilling test, which is a more accurate test than looking even at peripheral blood,
Yeah.
because you won't see megakaryocytes necessarily when they have B12 deficiency affecting their CNS. They get a methylation pathway deficiency, so power methyl B12, superfolate, the bio-LVR, and of course Samethyl.
Yeah. She's taking the power
'Cause-
methyl, the B12, and Cardivide and Nutriodine.
Yeah.
When she remembers or when Ken gets it to her or whatever, but she always remembers her B12.
Yeah, B12
That's
is
cute.
important. It's extremely deficient. When you get over age 40, it's amazing how many people are B12 deficient in their CNS, and it's because there's a systemic deficiency of methylation.
Is B12 in the life support? I do believe it is.
It's in everything. And we have only the activated forms of all the vitamins in our supplements, which means no other company does that, where it can jump to gene defect if there's a SNP or polymorphism of the DNA, or a toxin that blocks the conversion, like folic acid.
It's great.
Yeah.
Ken's question is, he was watching this movie Unlimited. It's about taking a pill and using all of your brain. And he wanted me to ask you if it's true that we only use a fraction of our brain and what nutraceuticals and quantities. Ken's going to try to get real smart before the cruise, huh? He says, yeah, he just wants to know what of our nutraceuticals, something about 90% of our brain we don't use. Is that true? 90%?
Probably more like 95%
Oh my goodness.
or more.
I have an
It's probably
excuse.
higher,
I
actually.
have a good excuse.
If you use all your brain, you probably have an IQ of 5,000 or something.
All right.
Yeah.
So answer his question, what nutraceuticals? I can guess Cognition Plus, Brain Power.
Yep, Neurogen, Nutrifos, Omega Supreme Krill.
And quantities, though? Do you have to really up the quantities
No, one
to get
twice a
smarter?
day. And, well,
Just
no.
one twice a day will do it?
We can go over a few other things you can add, but those are the core ones we start with.
But he was interested in the quantity part of it.
I can go over a few details when we get back.
Okay.
I don't want to make it too long, right? You want like a core thing, right?
No, I want a core, but I'll just keep it interesting.
Yeah.
You know? I don't want you to blah, 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 blah to take. I want you to keep it interesting to talk about the very fact that we're using 95%. Let's make it a little more interesting.
Yeah, okay.
Rather than slam
Just slam a few supplements, yeah. Taking it 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, make it more interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Come back, and Michelle, you have some questions and maybe some jokes.
You forgot where we left off.
Yes, and of course, we're talking about trying to take things to get smarter.
Yes.
Well, let me tell you what the principles are. Firstly, you want to improve blood flow to the brain, and of course, a lot of time people, even in their younger age, are getting decreased nitric oxide, decreased microcirculation. So you want to take Cardivite, which I tell people over age 20 you can take Cardivite to open up your circulation. The second thing is you want to improve neurotransmitter levels. You have to have all the trace minerals, so your pyrrolase and tryptase enzymes can make the neurotransmitters, and that's in Vitamin Mineral Max, Minerals Plus, and it's in all our drinks. I tell people Cognition Plus and Brain Power are essential because you got to stop free radicals, support the neurons so they can make an action potential, so you can form a neural network, and then you want to also make sure that the myelination pathways are working. So omega fatty acids are important, and phospholipids. So things like Nutrifos, Neurogen actually takes neurocytes or immature nerve cells and turns them into brain cells. And, of course, the phospholipids are Omega Supreme Krill, Nutrifos, Omega Cod Liver Liquid, and, of course, Omega Supreme...
But not all of those. You have to pick one of those.
One of those. And what I would pick, if I was going to pick one...
I take the Cod Liver Liquid myself.
The Cod Liver Liquid is the first one. The second one to take would be Omega Supreme Krill. For
I do it either or.
Yeah.
Most people will take one of those. But.
Yeah, depending on the level of insurance you want. And then I recommend that people take B8 or the Bio-LVR, because B12 and folic acid levels are very important for brain neurotransmitter formation, because the enzymes that require, like BH4 biopterin, your body makes if it has adequate levels of activated B12 and activated folic acid. So that helps, and you have to also have activated B6, which is a P5P form of B6.
What's the difference between the B12 and the power methyl and the B12 and the Bio-LVR?
It's a lower dosage in the Bio-LVR, but it has everything in there. It has B6, B12, and folic acid.
I see.
The power methyl B12 is 5,000 micrograms, real high dosage, and the same with the superfolate, very high concentration of activated folic acid. Those are some of the key principles. You can even use transcranial lumen photon and soma pulse to increase brain function, because you're amplifying, stem cell activity, brain cell activation of DNA, and all those kind of things. But I'll put a full protocol up, but people should know that I call the Cognition Plus, etc., the Smarter in an Hour pill. It's basically just like fitness for your brain cells.
How about a couple of jokes from Rachel? Hey, Rachel in Colorado. She sent 2. Would you like to hear them?
Sure.
Okay. Let's start off with this. First one's funny. Early one morning, a mother went in to wake up her son. Wake up, son. It's time to go to school. But why, Mom? I don't want to go. Give me 2 reasons why you don't want to go. Well, the kids hate me for one, and the teachers hate me too. Oh, that's no reason not to go to school. Come on now and get ready. Give me 2 reasons why I should go to school. He says again, right? Well, for one, you're 52 years old, and for another, you're the principal. Is that cute?
Oh, that's funny.
And then the other one she said is, a Sunday school teacher asked her little children as they were on the way to church service, and why is it necessary to be quiet in church? And one bright little girl replied, because people are sleeping. That's cute, too. Thanks, Rachel. I think those are sweet.
Yeah. It's funny.
Did you like that? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You didn't like that much?
No, that's good. Go ahead.
Good enough, eh?
Moving along.
Oh, God, Bill.
I don't know. A little dry Bill humor here. Go ahead.
Okay. We're going to start with Sandy. Hey, Sandy, from California, east of Sacramento. I heard a doctor on Coast to Coast last night talking about the explosion of hypothyroidism. My doctor is exhibiting many of the symptoms. She has had a recurring swelling of her lymph glands in the neck since a child. Generally happens when she is under stress and mostly during the winter. She is in Bolivia, helping an organization with the street children, and their diet there is pretty starchy, a lot of bread. And Samantha's allergic to gluten and wheat.
Your gluten allergy is...
And what's this? Gliadin. What's that?
The gliadin fraction wheat gluten actually it cross-reacts because it's homologous with some of the proteins in the thyroid gland. And so you'll see people that have gluten sensitivity on an antibody test, actually have antimicrobial and antithyroglobulin antibodies too.
Well, she goes on to say she called us in tears, very tired, both glands swelled and were painful and fever. I think it is a latent virus, and I feel she has a low thyroid.
Most common it's adenovirus, by the way, or gland virus. It's called adeno.
Okay.
Although there can be other viruses that do it
She
too.
wants to know if the Nutrimedical would restore her thyroid, and how much would you recommend she take?
A little bit more than Nutrimedical. You want to take mitothyroid, cell defense, anti-inflammatory for the thyroid gland, and Nutrimedical, and I'd gradually work up from a few drops a day to 20 drops twice a day, and then also take selenium cruciferate and cell detox glutathione and Nutrimedical, because you got to stop the free radicals in the gland, and then to reduce the cytokines, which are related because it's probably autoimmune, she should take Allerblock and Allergon. Okay, and you have to take all those things because you're dealing with allergic problem, probably food allergy. You're dealing with autoimmune and possibly viral infection.
Right.
She might need Silver 100 or Allicin Med to knock out the infection as well as the Nutrimedical, because it's very possible she's got a stealth virus. And the usual time course is you get a bad viral infection like adenovirus, you get acute thyroiditis that can percolate on and off for a few years, and eventually the gland starts to get hyperactive slightly, and then it goes hypo, and it can take up to 18 years for that to happen, although it can happen faster.
Well, Sandy says to you, Bill, thanks so much for all that you and Michelle do. Hugs. Hugs to you too, Sandy. I like that.
Yeah, and you can, by the way, you can monitor her progress measuring core body temperature with a Gerotherm thermometer or a good electronic thermometer first thing in the morning before you get out. And then you measure every probably 3 to 6 months your free reverse thyroid hormone, RT3, and free T3. Those are the most important. TSH isn't that important, but the free RT3 and reverse T3 are important.
Okay. Next, I want to get Pam's question in here. Pam from the Chicago area, Bill. She says, I know this is a late request for tomorrow's show, but if there's time, right, to squeeze it in. So here we go. A friend of mine had cataract surgery almost 2 months ago. After the surgery, her doctor instructed her to put prednisone drops in her eye every day. The dosage started with 4 drops 3 times per day. Then the dosage was gradually reduced to 1 drop 3 times a day. She's been taking the prednisone drops for almost 2 months, and the problem is that she's been seeing many black spots at a time since shortly after the surgery, particularly when she looks down or up. Her doctor now says that the eye isn't all healed, despite her vision now being 20/25, and told her to continue taking the prednisone and increase the dosage to 4 drops 3 times a day. She never had a problem with seeing black spots prior to the cataract surgery. She does not want to continue taking the prednisone, as she knows it has many bad side effects. How can the black spots be eliminated?
The most common thing are soap bubbles called asteroid hyalosis. And and there could also be a stealth infection in the eye, so steroids will cover that up. And so what I usually recommend is use anti-inflammatories like cell defense, which is curcumin, taking Silver 100, both eye drops, 2 drops 4 times a day to the eye to deal with any stealth infection that might occur either before or after surgery, because steroids will cover that.
Yeah.
Using things to protect the retina like cell detox glutathione, Nutrimedical, Vision Max. And then trying to use phospholipids to heal but the eye is probably inflamed, so the danger is that the eye, if it's inflamed, will get retinopathy. So that's where Neurogen
when we come
and
back, let's continue on the question, because her doctor's trying to up the prednisone.
Well, you can use natural anti-inflammatories. Welcome back, and
did you have any more advice for Pam?
The first thing I'd recommend is use natural anti-inflammatories. If she
her friend.
For her friend is. We'll give natural anti-inflammatories rather than steroids. You don't want to stay on a long time, because anytime you use steroids in the eye for a long time, you block the canals of Schlemm, which increase intraocular pressure, which can cause glaucoma, and that can cause retinal damage or nerve head damage to the optic nerve head and the retina.
And didn't you say in the break here when we were talking that the surgery itself? Surgery
itself causes inflammation. That's why oftentimes people will ignore it because their vision's returned, but then their retina starts to deteriorate over the next 18 months to 2 years. Because they've not dealt with the intraocular inflammation, and it's accelerated after surgery by the trauma of the surgical intervention and the foreign body, which is the lens and the surgical implantation. So.
Okay, next is Phil from Leeds Metropolitan University in England. Sincere apologies if this is not the best place to ask Dr. Bill, but I've just kind of spooked myself. I'm trying to be a better Christian person, and I'm still pretty new, but can I ask, is playing chess wrong? Love you and your guests. God bless you all, and please keep safe. Hey, I love playing chess. I beat Bill all the time. I do. Tell him.
You like playing games
I do
too, yeah,
beat you in chess.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the games are great, especially if you're competitive.
Well, you're very competitive, right?
I am.
Yeah.
I beat you in Splat in the pool, too.
You know what Splat is? Describe
But I
the
can't
story.
beat you
What's
on medical things, so I got to beat you somewhere.
What's Splat? Tell them what Splat is. It's where you have
Splat.
these sponge
It's a game I made up in the pool.
discs. They're pool toy, and you throw it, and it has to go splat in the other person.
Yeah, you have to get the other person with it, like a frisbee.
Yeah, it's like a very soppy kind of foam-like frisbee, and it's got to go splat on the person.
And needless to say, I guess I'm a little faster than Bill over there. So
I'm getting faster. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Getting faster.
Anyways, okay.
Your margin of victory is narrowing.
Do you have anything for Phil over there at the university in England to just let him know that, gosh, if you're worried about chess, man, I probably do a lot worse than things than playing chess. So I don't know about people being so uptight about
first off, I tell people
all the time.
The first thing I tell people to do is just make simple prayers to God. Say, give over your sins and sicknesses to God. And if you ask a question, he'll tell you back. Sometimes it'll take days or weeks to give you an answer, either in just a confirmation in your spirit, you just a yes or no, or sometimes a dream or whatever, you say, oh, okay, this is all right.
But I don't like games. A lot of legalism and a lot of...
That's not legalism. That's just simply...
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about worrying about chess. Like, there's so much to worry about in life as it is.
Well, I think the more important thing is to... number one, to try to be honest with yourself and your friends, be honest with God, and God will lead you. He'll give you a leading. Remember I mentioned the other day I was on the show, I had Carl Gallup, so I went over my simplest measure of what good and evil is. Mm-hmm. Good is hearing and doing what God says, and evil is not listening or not consulting God.
Yeah.
And I said the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is the original sin, is the template of all sin, is simply taking from the fruit, not a piece of fruit, but deciding for yourself what's good or evil without consulting God. And so if you consult God, He'll tell you what to do. It's real simple. That's whether it's a person, a family, or a nation.
Yeah, and he wanted to ask you about the chess, and I would assume that's... Yeah,
and what he should do, too, is just consult God. What he'll know is as time goes on, his relationship develops, he'll actually, whether it's that or anything else, whether it's, going to a specific group, or reading certain types of books, or, whatever, he'll discover what's right and wrong, but he has to consult God, not me. I can give my opinion, but, ultimately it should be a relationship that he has.
Well, I gave my opinion.
Yeah, there you go.
If anyone wants it, it's out there
Makes it
for
easier
you.
that way. In other words, you should have a speed dial number to God on your spiritual prayer phone. How's that?
Okay, Dan. Hello, Dan in Ecuador. He says, "Hi, Michelle. I want to help a friend in need. He has no money. He drives a taxi and sleeps in a Walmart parking lot." I wonder if his friend is down in Ecuador. They have Walmarts down in Ecuador, too?
I think they're everywhere.
He now has heart failure. Or remember, he used to live in Chicago. Dan used to live up there. I wonder where his friend is. But anyways, he now has heart failure and edema. And is there a way that I can order some products for him in his name so that he would be eligible to have Dr. Bill consult with him by email? Absolutely.
Okay. The first thing, exactly. But the first thing I tell people, whenever I see somebody in heart failure, usually means they're in right heart failure for two reasons. Number one, blood pressure. Number one cause of blood pressure in males that are having edema and so on is that they're having obstructive sleep apnea. And there are various, if you want to call it ministries here, that get secondhand CPAP machines to people that'll help. And then, of course, when they take things for blood pressure like our nutraceuticals, Cardivite, Supernox, Gamma E+, and magnesium taurate, magnesium glycinate. And
where's the Core 4 idea?
That's the Core 4, the core ones, right? Cardivite, Supernox, Gamma E+, and magnesium taurate.
Okay.
And then if you start taking those things, and then you deal with obstructive apnea, it's really easy, too, because there are some very cheap devices that can measure your oximetry. You just keep turning up the pressures on the CPAP until you don't have oximetry spells where your oxygen's dropping in the 70s or lower. And it's very probable that's what...
He's living in a car, Bill.
But it doesn't matter where he's living. He could be living out in a tent. If your blood pressure,
so
if you got a battery pack that can run your CPAP machine, you're laughing.
If we can get the supplements to him is what...
Yeah, supplements and then we can perhaps help him with connecting with the ministry to deal with the CPAP, because it's a big problem. It's a worldwide problem that people have.
I'll give you Dan's email.
Yeah.
Okay, next is Mattes from Sweden. Hi, I've listened to your YouTube Whistleblower 10 times, and it's beautiful. Thanks. You should write a book on those topics.
Lots of topics. Actually, you'll be an encyclopedia, not a book.
Next,
God has had my calendar for a long time, and believe me, to be honest with you, I wouldn't choose to have gone through a lot of stuff I went through. But God had my calendar, and He had me at purposes. He knows that I have the personality quirks He made me, so that I have a big mouth and open up and tell the truth at this time, which isn't necessarily the smartest thing to do if you want to survive, but it's the godly thing to do if you're a servant and a son of the Most High.
Amen. Next bill is Pat from New Jersey. She says, I have an extreme case of inflammation throughout my body, which includes my gut. You recommended the Inflamex as one of the products. When I read the ingredients, it has inulin in it. What is inulin?
Inulin is just a fiber. It's basically a soluble fiber component, and it's fine. It basically is a feeder for your probiotic bacteria, and it's quite safe and easy to use and fine.
She goes on to ask about the Immunomax. A lot of people have been asking about, has the Immunomax changed now that it's dairy?
It's no longer coming from serum. It's coming from colostrum milk. What
did it used to come from?
It came from serum, from blood. It was a blood extract. It was actually immunoglobulins.
Of what?
It would come from the blood of cows, where they would actually use centrifuges and iontophoresis to actually separate the immunoglobulins.
Really?
Now it comes from the colostrum of the first milk with new mother cows for their little heifers. And that milk then is basically separated, so there's no milk proteins like lactoalbumin and casein. It has immunoglobulins, transfer factors, and lactoferrin, which is an important binder of free iron, lactoferrin.
Yeah.
And so basically it's not allergenic, although it says milk, extract from milk. We don't get any milk reactions. There's no lactose in it. There's no milk proteins in it. It's just immunoglobulins, lactoferrin, and colostrum.
Okay. Thank you for that. We've had a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, I know. And I know it's listed on there because the team for the company that makes their stuff for us says, well, we've got to put it on there by regulation. But the technique that they're using to extract the immunoglobulins, there's no allergenic proteins in there. And there's no lactose either. Somebody's lactose intolerance. Of course, we have lactose blocker, but there's no lactose in there either.
Okay. She goes on to say, I believe I am in an acute situation due to my mouth. It feels really dry and dirty all the time. Are you familiar with this symptom? And it seems to me that it's coming from my gut being so inflamed.
Yeah, the most common thing is she's got a gut dysbiosis, and she may be having hypochlorhydria, lack of stomach acid, lack of digestive enzymes, leaky gut syndrome. We start off with, using things like probiotics, GastroHeal to heal the gut from one end to the other, Digestes, kill off the pathogens with berberstatin, Alamax, Allicin Med, Silver 100, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're getting past the core 4, but those are all good suggestions.
All good suggestions, yeah.
When we come back, the next question is, what would be beneficial for my wife to take at 1 month pregnant?
Welcome back, and we're here with more of your questions and perhaps some
when we left,
answers.
Bill, the last question was from Michael about his wife. She's 1 month pregnant, and what would you, core 4, suggest for her to get started on? First
off, I'd recommend she takes the probably at least BioLVR, which has got B12 and folic acid. She should be taking Vitamin Romax, omega fatty acids, which are good for baby's brain development, such as omega cod liver liquid, which has vitamin A, E, and K, as well as phospholipids, and perhaps omega supreme or omega supreme krill, because the DHA in it is going to help brain development. So those are the key core ones. And of course, you also want to make sure she gets extra calcium, because the baby's going to take calcium and iron, so ferritin, and the bone generator, and also mycel D3. And I know it's more than 4, but those are part of what I call the core for pregnancy.
That's level 2, right?
It's a little level 2 there. And it's because you want to replace the things. Baby's going to take what baby wants. And if you are marginal in your iron levels, you get iron deficiency anemia, or you get decreased bone density, because pregnancy pulls a lot out of your bones.
Next is David from the Caribbean. Dear Dr. and Michelle Deagle, I trust this finds you well. It's been a while since I've ordered your products. I had a few questions before ordering this time. Let's see. My wife, number one, my wife and I own a gym and fitness studio here in the Caribbean, and we have been looking at a machine, so for clients to get a clearer look at their health. I guess he goes on to say that he wants it to print out reports on weight and fat, etc. And he says, I do like the feedback on the lack of nutrients that the QRMA offers, and can you elaborate for him, Bill? The idea is to set it up in the gym and to charge a few bucks for members to use it. What do you think of this idea?
Well, a QRMA machine, 1/3 of the tests from the QRMA are very straightforward. Mm-hmm. You know what your levels are, and the thing is you have to use the same computer and the same device for the same people. You can't move it around and expect to get the same, consistent results. Mm-hmm. So it's very good for that. 1/3 of the tests need a little bit of kind of what we call nutritional and functional medicine background, and 1/3 are kind of esoteric. If you don't have advanced knowledge, you're not going to know what it means. Mm-hmm. For example, on the cardiac testing, it says increased cardiac blood demand. That could mean that the heart basically is enlarged to those chronic hypertension, or it could be a coronary artery deficiency if you don't look at other parameters. Oh. So if we're looking just for straight nutritional deficiencies like minerals, vitamins, and things like toxins, it's really good. And we have those machines. The thing is that I can't do interpretations on everybody that runs through and pays like $20 to just scan.
But the machine will speak for itself on those.
Yeah, it speaks for itself. So if they get a device, we would do interpretations for, let's say, the person and their family, which is much more extensive than just looking at deficiencies. But it's a good thing to get. So if they want to get a QRMA machine, as I say, we will provide interpretations for them and their immediate family.
He goes on to say, my left eye seems to be deteriorating. I got hit by a tennis ball in it about 3 years ago, and though no damage was found, it doesn't feel the same. I heard you mention CAN-C.
Okay, well, the first thing I'd recommend...
His focus, he said, is not as good as the other eye, and it's kind of blurry.
What he needs to do is see an ophthalmologist and a retinologist, which is a subspecialist ophthalmologist. They put a geographic lens in the eye after they put a little bit of anesthetic. They'll do photographs of the eye and look to make sure he doesn't have a buckle or a partial tear or buckling up of the retinal membrane, because it buckles on the edge of the eye, the limbus, up to 270 degrees from the visual axis. And you want to make sure he doesn't need to have any surgical procedures or care for his retina. If his focusing is gone, you have to make certain he doesn't have either cataract development or he's displaced his lens, which sometimes can happen with a trauma, where the lens is actually displaced from tearing these annular ligaments that hold the lens in place in the center of the visual axis from the limbus, the inner margin of the iris, which is the colored portion of your eye. So he should see an ophthalmologist and a retinologist to make sure his retina is okay, and he may need a coronal section MRI scan, looking at those areas of the eye, retinography, and probably a fluorescein stained IV evaluation of his eye and retinal photographs. So they have to kind of check it out to make sure his retina is fine.
Yeah. Next is Peter from New Zealand. We live in New Zealand, and because of the cost and distance away, I would have liked to study your site and offerings, but I have not ordered anything as of yet. I will try to listen in again, but the time zones are different, and I'm looking for an alternative to synthetic thyroid replacement. Keep up the good work.
It doesn't matter where you're living on the planet. If we actually had UPS shipments to Mars, we could do that too.
Yeah, we send a lot of products to New Zealand.
Yeah, and by the way, Mars is not that far away. It's 93 million miles.
We're going to start sending to Mars next year.
It would be a 4.5 minutes delay between the program and it arriving there. So
he wants an alternative to synthetic thyroid.
Well, take Mitothyroid, 1 to 2 capsules in the morning. Monitor your free T4 and free reverse T3 and free reverse free T3 and free reverse T3, and core body temperature. And Nutriodine, you might need pregnenolone and adrenal support as well. And you want to make sure you have all the trace minerals. That's why Vitamin Mineral Max Minerals Plus are really important, because if you have trace mineral deficiencies, there are 7 minerals necessary for normal thyroid function, as well as pregnenolone, which is the outer membrane of the mitochondria makes pregnenolone. So if your mitochondria aren't making enough pregnenolone, which is also the base hormone for not only your adrenal hormones but all your sex and stress hormones, then your thyroid doesn't work properly. So all those minerals have to be present: zinc, copper, iron, molybdenum, manganese, etc. Most people are aware of that. And if they have deficiencies, it doesn't work.
Another question here. This is Keith from Australia, and he's saying he'd like to order products to Australia. We send a lot of products.
We send products everywhere.
He said he just needs assistance. We actually have international orders online right now, and if you are ordering internationally and you find something, the shipping, we're still tweaking the quote-unquote, tweaking the shipping charges. So if you have any problem, you do place an order and you're listening internationally and the shipping doubled up on you or something horrible like that, just give us a call and we'll credit it right back. We've had to do that a few times this past week, but we're tweaking it, and we'll get it right. Maybe it'll take a few weeks. But we do offer online international shipping now, the keys.
Yeah, you got another 53 countries, and if, by the way, your country's not listed, just contact us and we'll add your country.
Who's this guy from a medical doctor asking about wholesale? No, we only wholesale to our customers, which could be two, but we do have flats.
We don't wholesale. We provide amazing.
No, we
amazing
have flats.
prices. Yeah, flats. You get flats.
They're really
and of course our
good
specials
deals.
are seriously special. 6 and get an extra one, and then we have the sale on top of the sale when we have our. So we also have sales all the time. We have all kinds of specialized sales every day of the week, and they change too, don't they?
They do.
And you are the master of the changes.
Next is Mike from up the road in San Clemente. Hello, Dr. Deagle. My wife has had lupus for 3 years. I'm concerned with her health. Attached are her recent blood tests. Her hemoglobin is high. And what nutraceuticals would you suggest? We already have a Lumen and a Somapulse. Thank you.
First, you have to think, what is lupus? Lupus, you can look at the pattern of the stippling pattern or the other pattern on the lymphocytes. And you also look at whether they have single or double-stranded DNA antibodies. And when you look at the pattern, you find that lupus is started off by 3 possible things. Number 1, stealth pathogens, which can trigger off lupus. Drugs. There's lots of drug-induced lupus syndrome. And some drugs, especially certain drugs like oxytetracycline, certain antibiotics, certain cardiac drugs, will trigger off lupus. Lupus basically is where your body develops cytokines, which are chemicals your immune system develops, and activates lymphocytes to attack different tissues. So you can get migratory polyarthritis, neuropathy, like optic neuropathy of your eyes. You can get polymyalgia, which is inflammation of your joints. You can get visual effects. You can get effects in your brain, effects in the kidney where you actually get damage to the glomeruli. So people can get renal, we call lupus nephritis, where they start to spill blood in the urine and damage the glomeruli. What we try to do with lupus is to lower the cytokine levels. So we start off with several, I call core things: high-dose Power C and flavonoid K2, allergon and allerblock. Then we use solid organ anti-inflammatory effects with the cell defense, and we use other things to kind of monitor decreasing the cytokine levels. We want to eliminate food allergens and then detoxify, because a lot of times there's heavy metals and toxins in the body. Maybe previous chemicals or drugs are present, and we've got to detoxify those. Things like Proline Sauna, Lumen Photon, Somapulse are very good for detoxification. Okay. And we have detoxifying nutraceuticals like Xenoestrin Detox and NutriDefense.
Next is Tom in an email, Bill. I'm a 70-year-old male with an application for farming. He's actually a chemical engineer. He goes on, I guess, well, I'm getting cut off here, but
no, you got 30 seconds.
It's really kind of cool here. He was on a bumpy tractor ride with groundhog holes all over the place. And anyways, he got soft tissue damage, Bill, in the lower back.
What I would use there is
I'll give you his email.
I'll give him Inflamex, Lumen Photon, probably tendon bender and joint performance. Those would be the core ones. And maybe Collagen Max. And the Lumen Photon, put it in setting 7 for at least a few hours a day. And once it starts to reduce the pain, then add some Nico setting, and that'll start to heal it.
Yeah, he mentioned that he'd like to get the Lumen Photon.
Yeah, that's what I get first.
Well, everyone, it's the end of another day here. God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Hey, it's the weekend. It's Friday.
It is indeed.
Yay.
And by the way, we're still working on the Core 4 to Level 4, and we're going to add a lot of new information on medical and functional medicine testing, little video blogs on there as well on the wellness conditions. So it's in process.
Have a great weekend. God bless you.